When you think of the Sahara, I bet you're picturing endless sand dunes, right? Blistering heat, just this massive, bone-dry landscape. And yeah, you're right, for today. But what if I told you that this desert is hiding a mind-blowing secret, the ghost of a totally different world?
So the big question is, what is actually buried under all that sand? I mean, we're talking about an area the size of the entire United States. The scale is just immense. And believe me, the answer isn't just more rock. It's something way, way more incredible. Because beneath all that sand, that's where the evidence of this lost world is hiding. We're talking about huge, continent-spanning river systems and inland seas that would absolutely dwarf many of the lakes we know today. It was a world that was once green and lush and just teeming with life. Now, this isn't just some fantasy novel idea. Scientists have a name for it, the Green Sahara, or the African Humid Period. It was a time when Earth's orbit did this little wobble, and it completely changed the climate of North Africa. So let's actually look at the timeline of how this green world came to be and then how it vanished. Okay, so it all kicks off around 11,000 years ago. The African monsoon rains start pushing way farther north, totally transforming the landscape. Things peak around 9,500 years ago, but what's really fascinating is this pause around 8,000 years ago. A huge 1,000-year dry spell that just slammed the brakes on paradise. And then, almost as fast as it started, the whole humid period just collapses about 5,000 years ago. The desert came roaring back. This quote from the research, man, it just paints such a vivid picture. It wasn't just, a little bit greener. It was a paradise. Think about it, vast grasslands, forests, and a water system so big that scientists call them megalakes. It was like a completely different planet, right where the Sahara is today. And that brings us to the big problem, right? It's one thing to say, hey, there were ancient rivers here, but it's a whole other thing to prove it when they're buried under millions of tons of sand. How on earth can scientists map a landscape they can't even see? Well, it turns out they have some incredibly clever high-tech tricks up their sleeves. So the first piece of the puzzle actually comes from space. Scientists are using satellites, but not to take pictures of the sand. Nope. They're using them to measure something totally invisible that lets them see deep underground, gravity itself. It all boils down to this really cool concept called a gravity anomaly. See, Earth's gravity isn't perfectly the same everywhere. Denser stuff, like solid bedrock, pulls just a tiny, tiny bit stronger. And lighter stuff, like waterlogged sediment filling up an old riverbed, pulls just a tiny bit weaker. Our satellites are now so sensitive, they can map these microscopic differences from orbit. It's amazing. And this is where it gets brilliant. You can be flying over the Sahara, looking down at a surface that seems completely flat, just a huge, featureless sea of sand. But the gravity signal tells a totally different story. It reveals the ghost, the imprint of the landscape buried below. All the deep channels, the valleys, the basins, all filled with that lighter sediment. It's literally a map of a lost world. And using this gravity data, scientists have confirmed the existence of these absolutely colossal ancient water systems. We're talking about things like Lake Megachad, which was, at its peak, the second largest inland lake on the entire planet, or the Tamanrasset River, which would have been one of the longest rivers in the world. This isn't just a guess, this is a map. Okay, so gravity gives us the where, it draws the map. But what about the when? And how much rain fell? For that, we need a totally different kind of historical record. And to find it, scientists have to leave the desert and go to the deep ocean floor, right off the coast of Africa. You see, every single year, wind blows dust from the Sahara out over the Atlantic Ocean, and that dust settles on the seabed. Over thousands of years, this builds up a perfect, layered archive, like the rings of a tree. By drilling a core deep into the sediment, scientists can literally read the history of the Sahara's climate, layer by tiny layer, going back hundreds of thousands of years. And the analysis they do is just incredible. I mean, look at this. They drill the core, and then they measure the amount of dust in each layer. But get this, they can even analyze the chemical signatures of wax from ancient plant leaves to figure out how much rain fell. Then, they use these super advanced dating techniques to pinpoint exactly how much dust fell in any given year. It gives them this amazingly precise climate timeline. So the key idea here is actually really simple, but it's powerful. When the Sahara was green and wet, there wasn't much loose sand to blow around, right? So the amount of dust in the ocean cores is super, super low. But when the Sahara is a dry, dusty desert like it is today, the dust levels are sky high. It's like a climate switch that's been recorded in the mud for millennia.
So, let's put it all together. What happens when you combine those amazing gravity maps with the detailed climate history from the deep sea cores? Well, you get a truly stunning, high-definition picture of this lost world. Okay, so remember those leaf waxes? Based on their chemistry, scientists figured out the median annual rainfall during the Green Sahara. It was 640 millimeters a year. That is more than enough to support grasslands, shrubs, even forests. It's a climate that is completely alien to the Sahara we know. And just for a reality check, here's today. Modern rainfall in the Western Sahara is less than 100 millimeters a year. The change isn't just big. It's a complete, radical transformation of an entire ecosystem on a continental scale. And the sheer scale of it is just hard to wrap your head around. The monsoon rains pushed all that green vegetation up to 31 degrees north latitude. That's farther north than Cairo is today. And like we said, Lake Magachad wasn't a lake. It was an inland sea, a freshwater body second only to the Caspian.
And remember that mysterious pause in the timeline? The climate data nails it. A 1,000-year-long dry spell right around 8,000 years ago. Now here's where it gets really fascinating. Archaeological records show that Neolithic people who had been living deep inside the Sahara abandoned their settlements during that exact same period. They were forced to retreat. It's a direct, visible link between a massive climate event and human history. So this is an incredible story about the past, for sure, but so what? Why does this green Sahara from thousands of years ago matter to us today? Well, it turns out that understanding this ancient climate is actually critical for predicting our planet's future. Here's the challenge. When scientists use our best climate models to try and simulate the past, the changes in Earth's orbit, they just aren't enough on their own to create the green Sahara. The models can't make it rain that much. They only work when you include these powerful natural amplifiers, what scientists call feedback loops. And there are two really big ones. First, as plants spread, they make the land surface darker. A darker surface absorbs more heat from the sun, which pulls in even more monsoon rain. Second, with less bright desert sand to reflect sunlight and less dust in the air, the whole energy balance of the region changes, which again strengthens the monsoon. These loops can take a small initial change and amplify it into a massive, abrupt climate shift, which is exactly what the evidence shows. And that is the real takeaway here. The Green Sahara is this perfect, real-world example of how our planet's climate doesn't always change smoothly. It can hit tipping points. And if we want our climate models to give us an accurate picture of the future, they absolutely have to be able to get these powerful feedbacks right. It really makes you think, doesn't it? Our planet holds these incredible stories of transformation, of entire worlds that have been lost and remade, all by natural forces. The story of the Green Sahara just proves how dynamic and, honestly, how wild our planet can be. And it just leaves you wondering, what other profound secrets are buried out there, just waiting for us to find them?